Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Well, welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a great day today. I know I am. I am a #1 international bestseller author and a life and business transformational success coach. My goal is to illuminate and empower others to find and embrace their life's purpose, to live their highest vision, forge a strong foundation, to soar to success. You hear me say soar to success. That's our little trademark. Find more information on ldcstrategies.com or loriannecasdia.com. Today on the show, we are honored to have an amazing woman who has done so many things, is a role model for me. I know I watch her from the distance and we get to work together on occasion. And she has done such beautiful things for our community. She's done beautiful things for women, just beautiful things for people in general. She is so heart-centered, just so in alignment with everything that we speak about. That's Jodi Giglio. And I should actually say Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio. She is my Assemblywoman, and I'm so proud to have her as such. She has been an Assemblywoman and resides in Bating Hollow for the last 20 years. A mother of 3, her experience is in, of course, private sector and public sector, and she's equipped with a unique perspective on how to tackle the state's toughest challenges. And if anyone can do it, our Jodi can, particularly in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. She looks forward to promoting common sense solutions that will restore power back to the people of New York State and put our economy back on track. I will tell you that her district includes North Fork of Long Island, portions of the town of Brookhaven, and towns of Riverhead and Southold, and she represents us so well. She has done things and is just so heart-centered, where she has mobile units that go out there and help seniors, and she is really a lifeblood of our local economy. Jodi, welcome to the show, and thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, Lorianne, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here with you today. Yeah, you're doing great things too. Absolutely. You always have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's what we do, right, girl? We go out there and we help other people. We serve other people. I am my finest when I'm serving other people's, and I watch people, and I watch you from a distance, and you glow when you are helping others, and as you are right now. It's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your career, because you, like mine, we've been in public sector, private sector, back to private sector. Tell us about what your transition has been over the last few years.
Yeah, so in 1997, I started my own construction company and built a lot of residential houses and condominiums, and managed some of those properties, sitting on the board of directors of those properties, and then bought a large chunk of land in Quogue, where the town of Southampton put me in a moratorium for 2.5 years and raised my property taxes, tenfold.
Wow.
Well, I couldn't touch the land or do anything with it. So I was a loud voice in the update of the master plan in Southampton, to where ultimately they took my property rights away from me. And then the town of Southampton and the county of Suffolk bought my property for preservation. So that's how I got into more of a commercial structure. And when I bought my property in downtown Riverhead, New York, downtown was blighted. There were drug dealers, prostitutes, gun shootings, all kinds of stuff that was happening in downtown Riverhead, that I owned this building, and there was a master developer that was going to come in, and they were going to recreate downtown, and they were going to make everything better and hopefully improve my property value. And then that fell flat. So I was left to take care of myself and protect my interest in my property, and to start submitting a site plan. So what I did was I gathered with some partners, somebody that owned the building on the other side of me, and I said, what if we put our 2 buildings together and we knock it down, and then we try and buy this building on the other side, and we could build something really nice. So that was the plan we came up with, and we presented it to the town of Riverhead. That seemed like they wanted to keep downtown the way it was, which was not a safe place to be. So I started the Riverhead Business Alliance, And I went knocking on business owners' doors throughout downtown and said, do you find that it's hard to do business here and that the town of Riverhead could do a better job at helping you with either business committees and small business liaisons and things of that nature? And so they agreed. So I had, I think it was 50 businesses that paid $300 a year so that I could hire a secretary to blast out emails every time the town of Riverhead was proposing legislation that would hurt small business owners in downtown. And they would show up at the town board meetings, whether it was the farmers with their pitchforks or the, business owners with their, their hurdles that they were struggling with, and the legislation eventually would not get adopted. So I was a conduit, per se, from the town board to the business owners. And that's when the business owners asked me to run for office. So I ran for office in the town of Riverhead in 2009, and I was on the town board for 10 years. Liaison to all the business committees, business advisory committees, the Rotaries, the chambers. And then in 2020, they asked me to run for New York State Assembly. So I did, and I won, and I've been there ever since. And I love new challenges because I really feel like it stimulates the mind and you don't get stuck in one pattern. So in my own construction company, I am a woman business enterprise. I am also an operating engineer with International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 138. Which is a very strong union, and I encourage more women and more people to get involved in unions that provide a great living wage, and then also pensions and protection in the workplace. So
and you were honored by the minority millennials as women of distinction because of your positive impact on minorities and youth. You continue to do things like that, so you're constantly elevating people, including, which we're going to talk a little bit about a little later, but I want to put it on everyone's radar that we're actually throwing a informational session about how to obtain a WBE. And I want in the second half to talk about the advantages of WBE, but that's on August 22nd at 9 a.m. at Hotel Indigo. You do have to pre-register, and to do that, you go to ldcstrategies.com/WBE, and you'll be able to join this amazing session that Jodi will be leading us in. So let's talk about the WBE and you doing that. I remember you applying for that, and you were like, Lorianne, you have to do this. So I love it. Tell me, what made you do it? What are the benefits? Let's talk a little bit about that. And then I want to circle back to some things happening up in our great state of New York.
So New York State is really trying to get more women and minorities into the workforce when it comes to state contracts. So at becoming a woman business enterprise, you get a special look from general contractors that need participation from a woman or a minority business. So if a general contractor has a construction project such as LaGuardia Airport or Kennedy Airport, I mean, they would need people from interior decorators to, caterers, people that would host a party, that when they have realtors that look for properties for the state if they're looking to do something. So there's a little bit in the program for anybody that's interested in doing business with the state of New York or the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, or any agency that the state oversees.
Yeah, there's a big need for it too. And so just to dive a little bit deeper, there's a legal requirement for a certain percentage of every contract that's awarded by the state, as legislation states, to go to minority, veterans, and women.
Yes, minorities, women, and veterans, yes.
Right.
And disabled veterans, sure.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and which is really great because it keeps it going around, because otherwise it just goes to the same people and we're in that little rat race and we can't get in. It's like playing jump rope. You remember when you're jumping in, you're like, I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to get in. They keep like stretching the rope out so you can't jump in. That's kind of how we used to feel. But now with this opportunity, if you get that WBE, you actually automatically are subject.
Yeah, you become very valuable to these big contractors that are bidding jobs with New York State because they need the participation or they need a waiver. So I'm so busy with being an assembly person and trying to make sure that my constituents are represented properly, that I have not taken a construction job or even bid a construction job in a couple of years now. So it's, but I get bid requests every day on my emails. So I get these contractors that will say, you know, we need some steel or we need this. And because that was one of the things that I did was sell steel, broker steel. So they would, they reach out to you and they say, can you help me with this? Can you help me find this? And it's really, it's very good. And you create relationships with not only the people from the state that are overseeing the projects, but also with the contractors, and you get a reputation. And I've seen a lot of businesses really grow by becoming a minority woman business enterprise or a veteran or disabled veteran that needs to get into these contracts and make some money.
Love that. Love that. And we're so grateful that you actually are taking time out of your really busy schedule, coming back down from Albany to do this meeting with us. And, you know, I really encourage everybody to come in. It's really not just for women, because it's anybody who falls into the other categories that we're talking about. But we are really doing a heavy focus on women-owned businesses because there is really a dirge of necessary certified women businesses in the hopper for the state. And it's really, is it difficult to do? Let's be honest. Is it hard to become?
You know, there are a lot of qualifications, and there's a lot of paperwork that has to be submitted, and there's a lot of, you know, things that you were not going to expect that the state is going to be asking you for. And those are some of the things that I'm going to be going through to make sure that you know what is expected of you and what could be coming down the pike after you submit your paperwork. So it's, and I also have a working relationship with that department because sometimes these applications can take years. By the time you get the paperwork in and get everything satisfied, and then there's audits, so they, you know, want to know that you're really part of the company. And women are becoming more independent these days. And so it's good if you can have your own business and be successful. So that's what I promote and encourage, and will do everything that I can to help anybody that is trying to make a better life for themselves.
That's just right in alignment with your branding. So now we have a state WBE, and we also have a county. What's the proper order of that? Like, which one should do? Like, what comes first, cart or horse?
It's the state, and there's also a federal WBE. So it's, but we'll go over all those things when we meet at the seminar. And
August 22nd, 9 a.m., Hotel Indigo. Yes.
Yeah. And Lori and I are doing that complimentary. I think we're only asking for a small fee for the hors d'oeuvres or the coffee that we'll have there, the coffee and the space.
$15 fee. It's a very minimal fee. The $15 would be the best $15 you have ever spent.
And Lori and I are not seeing any of that. We're just there to help you.
No. Yeah. We're doing what we do. We lift people up. We give them the tools that they need so they can soar to success. So, and it's just so great that you do things that you do. Let's transition for a second up to Albany and the challenges that you are facing up there. I mean this in the most loving way, but what a mess up there. What's going on? How are you being able to maneuver and make some changes up there? It's difficult. You have to get a lot of people to work with you and work from both sides of the aisle. Now, I know from having worked in town, people would be like, oh, both sides of the aisle are always fighting. Between 95-97% of the time, everybody's in agreement. Everybody's on the same page. We only hear about the 3% of the dissension that we have. Is that the same up in Albany?
No. but it's interesting too. I could probably send you to some links where you could say, wow, did that really just happen? But I think that once you become elected I know that once I become elected to office, party lines go away, and it's helping the constituents. And I've really established some great relationships with people on the other side of the aisle that I like to listen to what their hurdles are, or why they're putting up the legislation that they are, because I've learned in life that you can't change the way people feel, and it's the way they feel, and you have to understand why they feel that way and try and adapt to make them feel better about the process or the circumstance.
Well, isn't that true though? Is that if we could only communicate with each other, and in this case, and right now in our society, on either side of the aisle, I know I go out and have conversations with people. They have a different point of view. That's okay. To me, that's enlightening. I just need to understand why they feel the way they do, because in a lot of cases, or in some cases, what they're saying, it makes sense, and I never thought of it that way. So I love the communication.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And, Crystal People-Stokes, who is the floor speaker for the majority, and they are the supermajority. There are 107 of the Democratic Party in the Assembly, and there are 43 Republicans.
And that's why you say supermajority, just for the listeners.
Yeah, supermajority. So I often will go into the speaker's office, and I think I'm the only one from the Republican side that actually goes and just sits in her chair in front of her desk and say, I found that interesting what you said on the floor, and this is how I feel, and we'll talk about it. And then sometimes she'll disagree with me and say, well, we're going to agree to disagree, and then we leave it at that. But
that's okay. It's okay to agree to disagree, but at least you had the dialogue, and she got some of the information, or you got some information that enlightens you. And even though you still are solid in what you're thinking, at least you have a better idea of what the other person's thinking. Because I think the end goal for all of us is the same. We want a safe environment. We want to live healthily. We want to be able to raise our families here and not leave. I hear of so many people leaving New York, and myself included. Is I just bought some parcel down in South Carolina because I don't know if I can stay here because of the cost. It's too expensive. So so how do you really generate some movement in that direction, especially since they do have the supermajority?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm friendly with the other side of the aisle, and I often go out to dinner with them, or have lunch with them, or sit in the back and talk to them. I ask them to carry my bills so that my bills can make it to the floor, make it out of committee and onto the floor. So I find that to be a very successful route to take. And I have great staff that also work very well with the staff members on the other side of the aisle in setting up communication, and sharing information. So it's interesting. It really is. Albany is a very interesting place.
So I'm obviously a success coach. So I always look for those success principles. And the thing I continue to hear coming from you is it's about communication. We can't just shut off one party or one person. We really need to speak to them and listen to what they're thinking, and why they're thinking the way they are, and what they're doing. Because I know sometimes I bring ideas to the table and I'm thinking this way because I have a certain goal, right? But then when I get like minds around, and I believe very heartily that collective minds are way better than the singular one. So when I get people around and I bounce the ideas and they're like, well, what about this and what about that? It's brilliant. It makes what my initial idea is so much better, because all of these different thoughts, all of these different opinions come together. I do like to surround myself with opposing opinion because it makes me better. So do you find that you're better now, even more so because you are surrounded with so much opposing opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I really do. I listen to the other sides, and it's, sometimes it's unfathomable to think that this is really happening in our population today, and a lot of it has to do with racism, and a lot of it has to do with, the minority population feeling as though they're being targeted, and those are feelings that are real. So it's identifying feelings and trying to figure out how to help somebody through that, or try and encourage them to look at things a different way, rather than being stuck in that situation, or in that environment.
Yeah. Are you finding too that now you're seeing what it was is viewed as the majority? Are you finding them feeling that same kind of anxiety, that they feel like they're being discriminated against now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what a lot of the laws that we create are pushing back against. So I have a lot to say that, because I've always been a supporter of law enforcement and law and order and making our community safe and helping people that may be in a jam, either with mental health or with recovery, that, they have a place to go and they have, comfort in knowing that people care about them and that they want to help them, instead of just letting them continue on a path of destruction. So it's important. There's a lot of work left to be done. There's a lot of funds in the budget, but a lot of it is condoning bad behavior instead of trying to pull them out of the bad behavior and getting them into recovery or getting them into a mental health program to where they can be a productive member of society.
Yeah, we need to do that mental shift. And I want to come back with Jodi Giglio, Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio. Sorry, I'm so used to you as Jodi. Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're going to take a short little break and we're going to come right back and get more insight and information from our good friend, Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio. Be right back. With Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. If you would like to be a guest or lift up your business or product or not-for-profit, or if you have a question or comment, we love to hear from you. So please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. That's healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. Yes, the LA stands for Lorianne. I do get questions about that. Isn't that funny? And whether your goal is improving your health, increasing prosperity in business, developing a business, a marketing strategy, nurturing your spiritual growth, you're in the right place. I will help you shift your mindset, harness your talents, remove that resistance, and rise above those limitations. You will be empowered to create the desired reality as I guide you and we guide you here from LDC Strategies. We are very result approach related, and we really looked at shifting your mindset. It really is a lot about mindset. Speaking of mindset, we have Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio here today with us, and we were just talking about working up in with across the aisle up in Albany with a supermajority, and that you do have to shift your mindset a little bit and come in with a positive attitude to see what you can do and how you can find and bridge those gaps, so you can find a place in the middle that allows you to serve the constituents and really put them ahead. What does that look like? What does that challenge look like? People think, oh, it's so easy. I'll just go in there and I'll change everything. But that's not how it works.
Oh, no, that's definitely not how it works. And it's interesting because when you hear things like yesterday, I spent the day at Fisher's Island. So imagine living on an island and having to living in New York on an island and having to go take a ferry to Connecticut to get on another ferry to take it to New York, because there is no direct ferry from Fisher Island to New York. So just I'm trying to think of the hurdles of that and come up with solutions, not only with healthcare, but also with transportation.
Yeah. It's funny that you said that. My son did an internship. He went to Johnson & Wales and he did an internship at one of the restaurants there. And we went to take him out there because he was going to stay there for the summer. And I joked around. I was like, it was literally two ferries. And I was like, and I felt like I had to take like a goat and a yak to get him to where he needed to go. It was just so backward. I didn't understand. We literally passed the islands to get on another ferry to come back to that island. So it just didn't make sense to me, but we did it. And I mean, I know people have way worse than that, so I'm not complaining. Please, I put it in perspective. But I understand those challenges that you have, and how do you problem solve things like that to get people over the LIE and into New York City so that they can make the money and live here? Because Long Island is gorgeous. New York State is an amazing state. When you look at all the benefits that we have the mountains, we can go skiing, we have the most beautiful beaches, we have some of the most prestigious, sought after tourist attractions in the world. And we sit here and live with amongst it all our lives. So how do you do that? What kind of initiatives do you put in place, Jodi?
Yeah, so I am on many committees. So there are several committees that oversee and govern the laws that are created in Albany, and each committee consists of about 15 to 20 people. So I am on the Government Employees Committee, which is for all unionized members of the workforce that support the government. They really run the government. They are the
backbone,
blood, sweat, and tears, and lifeline of the government. Sure. So they're very valuable to us, and we want to make sure they're happy. That's why I'm on the Government Employees Committee. I'm a member on the Committee on Labor, which has to do with the laws and the safety of people that are in the workforce that are working on state contracts, to make sure that they're protected and that the state is protected. I'm on Economic Development, Job Creation, Commerce, and Industry, because of my background and being a successful business owner, and also being on the town board in Riverhead and having dealt with economic development and trying to bring back our downtown and bring back other parts of the town to make them beautify and beautiful, and make the economy of the downtown grow and become prosperous. So I really look forward to all of those things. And I'm also a member of the Legislative Women's Caucus, where we meet together and we think of things that we can do to help the communities. Like we did a formula drive and a diaper drive and all things like that for women that were struggling and finding the formula during
How crazy is that in our country? To not have formula? How crazy is that? That it just took me. I mean, we actually went to like third world country status when you talk about things like that. That is just so. I can't even wrap my brain around it, Jodi. Cannot even do it. So I can't even imagine what it's like to sit in that kind of caucus, to come up and brainstorm. How are we going to do something that, to me, seemingly so basic that we should have here in the United States?
You would never think that you would ever be without it. I mean, look at during the pandemic when we were worrying about our paper goods, toilet paper, paper towels, tissues, just there were so many things that were happening during the pandemic, and the recovery of the pandemic has been a large part of the discussion up in Albany in the past year and a half.
Does the state have the same legislative abilities as the federal government, where they can say to any manufacturer in the state of New York, we need you to shift and start making this? Does the state
absolutely. Absolutely.
So and why haven't we done that? Why aren't we doing that? And I don't mean you, collective.
Yeah. There is, when we identify companies, we promote buying from New York State.
Yes.
And buying from the United States. But, one of the things that I discovered in the many meetings that I've had in Albany is that the designer industry, the fashion industry in New York City, that it's really, we're in threat of losing New York City as being the fashion mecca of the world.
Really? Oh my gosh, yes. That would be tragic.
It would be.
Absolutely tragic.
In meeting with a group of those individuals, I said, well, what's happening? And they said, well, designers are just designing, and then they're handing it to brokers that are finding out where the least expensive place is to make that shirt or make those pants.
That's their job.
And that's why a lot of our clothing, you see that it's made in China, or it's made in, Taiwan, or it's made here. How often do you see an article of clothing that says made in the USA? So I have an initiative.
But when I do see it, I do buy it. And
Yes.
I pay more because we're supporting our nation, we're supporting our people, we're supporting
Absolutely.
our economy.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why some of those tariffs were put into place to help push it back to America, made in America. I don't know if they're still in place. I didn't follow that, but I hope that they are, because the made in America, yeah, I can see by you shaking your head, no, they're not.
Well, they're being renegotiated as we speak, but the as far as the international trade, but as far as New York is concerned, I said, we have all these shut down, blighted warehouses in Brooklyn and all over New York City. Why the state should be investing in that and telling these designers, listen, we'll hire the seamstresses, we'll get the dyes that aren't going to pollute the water, because we talk about being humanitarians not only in the United States but in New York.
Sure.
But meanwhile, we're going towards the electric batteries and the energy components, which are all great, but there has to be a transition. And when you think about electric batteries for electric cars, those electric batteries are made with cobalt and they're made with lithium. And they have really slave labor in the Congo of young children starting at the age of 5 that are in these cobalt trenches mining for the mineral that they need to make the electric batteries. And they don't have PPE. These children are dying of respiratory illnesses from breathing in that cobalt as they're chipping away at the wall of a cobalt mine. So it's
that's amazing to me, that and the fact that, has anybody thought about the disposal of all of these batteries? That the products that are being used in the batteries are more toxic than the oils that we're using right now to our earth, and the disposal of it hasn't even been thought of. And they're going to all batteries exhaust, so they got to have a disposal mechanism, and they haven't thought about that. And then here's my biggest question, and I know it's not a question for you, but it's a generic question, is we can't support, and we have brownouts, we can't support the electricity use that we have now. How are we going to support it with all these cars on our electrical pole? So to me, we're cramping something that's already, we still need to fix. So we need to, and as I do with my businesses, we need to create a strong foundation to build those things on top of. And right now, our foundation isn't strong enough to support having all these electric cars. And again, if you're using something toxic that's more toxic than the very oil that comes out of our earth to do this, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to wrap my head around, again, the logic of it. So I can only imagine the look on your face when you have to have these conversations. And I did not know about the children in the Congo who are doing this. And that is criminal in my mind.
Yeah.
In these days, in this age of time, we've grown up from putting people in Roman Colosseums and using them as entertainment with tigers, because we decided that that wasn't a good thing to do. We've grown up from slavery and said that's not a good thing to do. We've evolved as humans. How is this even happening today?
Yeah, and when we are buying our oil and our energy needs from other countries, and they are firing up their coal mines, how are we really saving the planet?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that question. Why is it okay over there but not over here? Yeah,
we're just shifting it to another place so that we can
have a good marketing.
Trying to explain, so that we have a feel good, bill, or this is what we're going to do, and we have to save the planet. But when we're pulling the resources from other countries, we're not saving the planet. Are we saving the United States? And then everybody else around us is going to be polluted? Or, we're all breathing from the same air, right?
Right. And here's the thing is it may make good messaging. It may have a warm and fuzzy bill, but it's like a Hollywood set, on front it looks beautiful, but nobody's looking at the back end of it. And that's the part that scares the bejeebus out of me, is like, well, why aren't we?
And you can look it up, and you can read all the articles about the children in the Congo that are in these cobalt mines.
What are some of your other initiatives? We're going to shift to something a little bit more positive, because that just has me really sad. So what are some of the positive initiatives you're doing, Jodi, for the people here on Long Island? And I know there's so many, you have to narrow it down.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, I don't have my list of all my bills in front of me right now, but some of the things that we're working on, I'm actually having a press conference tomorrow for deer overpopulation management, because there is an overpopulation of deer on the North Fork of Long Island that are destroying our crops, our woodlands, that are, there's a high report of Lyme's disease on the east end of Long Island. And there are also deer that are running out into the street, getting hit by cars and running off into the woods and suffering for weeks before they die.
No.
So there's a big deer population, and the whole ecosystem is out of balance, kind of like the government is out of balance in both New York State and the federal government, because there were 3 branches of government that were set up in New York State. That's the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor. And then on the federal level, we have Congress, Senate, and the president. And when they're run by one party rule, whether it be a Republican, which it once was, or Democrat, there's no balance, because it's just one agenda and it's here we go. So there was a reason why our founders wanted 3 branches of government, both on the state and the federal level.
To do the checks and balances, as well as that, we can't even forget the justice. The justice that should be completely autonomous from those 3 branches as well, so that there is an equitability. It is actually brilliant. Our Constitution, if you haven't read it, I will, call me up, send me an email. I will send you a copy of it. It is an amazing document that is timeless. And they really did a good job of making it timeless. And clearly, if you look at some of the things that they put in it, what we're feeling today, they must have felt in a different level back then, because they set these rules up this way so that we can get through situations that we're in right now. It's absolutely a brilliant document. If you haven't read it, I really encourage you. I will send you a free copy, I promise.
Yeah. And it's funny, because one of my colleagues in the assembly said that every single person that gets elected to office should know and have to cite the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
Absolutely. Well, and this is what's amazing to me. So all of the people up in Washington, I'm not picking on them, and God bless them for serving the way they do, whether you like them or not. That's not here, but they all take an oath of office to protect and uphold the Constitution. And that's another thing I can't wrap my head around, is they are all actually not doing that. So how does this continue? Who is going to be that whistleblower to say, hey, I'm holding you accountable? I hold people accountable every day as a coach to make sure that they do what they say they're going to do, so that their business grows and prospers, right? You hold people accountable every day, right? So why are we not holding them accountable for upholding the Constitution? If you want to change it, go through the process. If you want to change things, go through the process. That's why the process is there. But they take an oath, Jodi. How does this continue like this? And I know no place to answer all that, but
some of the things that are done are, one of my biggest priorities is to protect the voting, prevent voter fraud.
Sure.
And where there were the constitutional amendments to the New York State Constitution this last November, one of the questions was, should we have absentee ballot voting, just as you don't need a reason for absentee ballot voting? You could just go to the call the DMV and say, send me an absentee ballot. I don't want to go to the polls because I'm afraid of getting COVID. So they tried to change that during the last session in November. And the voters voted it down. They said, no, we don't want everybody to have no excuse absentee ballots. They have to have an excuse. They're out of the country. They're away on military. They're away at school. They have to have an excuse as to why they can't go to the polls and vote.
On the day. I don't understand the early voting either. It needs to be on that day. Our founding fathers did it for a reason, just so this kind of maneuvering couldn't happen. Right. And it is a maneuver.
So when the voters voted that down and said, no excuse absentee ballots, one party rule, which means they hold all 3 branches of government in the state, came back and voted on a resolution to allow no excuse absentee ballots. So
That's
they put it
illegal.
up for referendum.
They
They put it up for referendum. The voters voted it down, and then they came back in and said, through the end of 2022, because now they extended it again. So nobody needs an excuse to request an absentee ballot.
They just broke their constitution. They all should go to jail. I'm sorry. They should. They should all go to jail. They are treason of the New York State Constitution and our federal Constitution, because it specifically says that things have to be brought in front of the public for a referendum. You can't override that because you didn't like the answer.
Exactly.
It's like, no, I'm not going to let you be. Yeah. And that, if that's not fraud, I don't know what is. So that's very alarming. In the last minute, on an upside is, what's your why? Why do you do what you do, Jodi?
I do what I do because I love the community that I live in. I love people, and I want to empower people to be the best that they can be, as I strive to do every day, and try and encourage my children to do the same. So I think it's important that everybody find their niche and their thing that they love to do, because that's the path to success, is enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, and you clearly enjoy what you do. You've enjoyed everything I've ever seen you do. You're just such a beautiful role model for humans across the board, women and men alike, but specifically women who are looking for someone who is a true leader. You lead from behind, and I love that. You empower people to do what they do, and you surround yourself with really an amazing group. Your staff, by the way, top notch. So if anybody needs anything and you call into that office, they just handle it. They take care of it. And as if your smiling, beautiful face was part of every single second of it. So I really admire you, Jodi, for everything you've accomplished as a female entrepreneur to being our assemblywoman at the state level. It's just incredible. You take my breath away, and I do admire you and look at you as a role model. So, and thank you so much. August 22nd at 9 a.m. at Hotel Indigo, you will be, along with myself, doing a WBE information session that will allow us to empower more women to be part of that session. And I really appreciate the fact that you're taking your time. You carved out that time. I know how hard it was to find time in your schedule, but you carved out that time. August 22nd, 9 a.m. All you have to do to register, pre-register, is ldcstrategies.com/WBE. Fill it out right there. Just sign up, and then you're good to go to come to listen to all this amazing information you can find nowhere else. Thank you again for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I know you have a lot of choices, and my heart is lifted, and I'm so appreciative that you take the time to share your time with us right now. I want to thank Assemblywoman Jodi Giglio, again for all of your information, and you're just amazing. And if you're looking for a business coach, accountability, strategy, direction, a sounding board, someone to help streamline your business and more, you are not sure what you want to do, don't worry, just give us a call at 516-983-3591, and let's see if it's a good fit. We can certainly help you soar to success, jump those hurdles. And I really have to give this shameless plug. #1 best-selling, international best-selling book, Women Who Dream, and our bestseller, V-Tales Classic Vitality Cocktails, can be found on Amazon with my name, or for an author signed copy, just go to ldcstrategies.com/Women Who Dream. Thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. Look for our show next Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on JVC Broadcasting, and you can follow us on iHeartRadio. Until next time, I'm Lorianne Casdia. Play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and what? Show up big. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.